The world is waiting to see if Donald Trump commits the US military to Israel's campaign against Iran. Kylie Moore-Gilbert is an Australian academic who was held in an Iranian prison for more than 2 years. She says with pressure mounting on the regime, lasting political change will likely come from internal parties.
I just don't see how the regime will not change radically, in an internal fashion. Different factions will emerge. Some will be strengthened, some will be weakened. The Supreme Leader himself will likely be weakened by this. He has not named a successor. Perhaps it's, well about time that he does so. And whoever that person may be will probably be impacted by current events as well. His selection would be. So I think that this regime, it's not time to write them off just yet, but they have been fundamentally weakened by the past week's hostilities. And we can expect very dramatic shifts and changes internally, even if they manage to cling on and survive.
So you, of course, have had your own experiences at the hands of the Iranian regime. You're also a political scientist. So how do you see Donald Trump weighing up his next move? What's your interpretation of the situation right now? And what are you hoping will happen?
It's hard to say. I think you can see plausible arguments on both sides being effective with Trump. It seems as though on one side it could be quite an easy win for Trump if he was to just get in, quickly drop a bunker-busting bomb on Fordo, destroy that final extremely important and very well-guarded nuclear site in Iran, and then get out again and bring this whole thing to a close as swiftly as possible, forcing Iran back to the negotiating table, rather. I can see how that could be an attractive option for Trump, but there are also downsides there. I mean, Iran has threatened to potentially bomb US bases in the region. It could close the Straits of Hormuz. It could cause all kinds of trouble to the oil industry and neighboring Sunni Arab Gulf countries. All of these eventualities is something that Donald Trump would be keen to avoid. And then you've got the isolationist wing of his party, which is very much against any military intervention whatsoever and thinks that America should just stay out of it, haunted, of course, by the sort of disaster of the Iraq and the Afghanistan wars, and thinking that it's not really America's business and Israel should just deal with it. So I can see Trump falling either way on that argument. And what do I hope will happen? I actually hope that this will come to an end sooner rather than later. I think the biggest danger here is that this becomes a protracted, drawn-out conflict. People get bogged down and can't get out. That would be terrible for the Iranian people, first and foremost. The Iranian people are terrified right now. They're not used to war on home soil. They're not used to this sort of in a place like Tehran, at least, which is a sort of a thriving metropolis. They're not used to these kinds of scenes, nor are the people of Tel Aviv and elsewhere in Israel, too, I'd add. And I think that the civilians on the ground are desperate for this to come to an end as soon as possible.
Right. Finally, do you see a diplomatic solution to the conflict? Donald Trump is still referencing that possibility, but how likely is it that Iran would come to the table?
I don't think Iran or Israel can afford to keep fighting in the long term. It's not in either country's interests. It's not in the United States' interests or the world's interests either. But it's a very bitter pill for the Iranian regime to swallow. They are going to have such a weak negotiating position in any potential diplomatic solution here that they're going to be loath to sign up to or agree to anything that might plausibly be asked for beyond the nuclear program, for example, the ballistic missile program, the sponsorship of proxies, terror organizations throughout the region, the kind of death to America, death to Israel language that we've become accustomed to hearing from them. They're going to have to make some really, really difficult decisions if they would like a diplomatic off-ramp. I think regime survival dictates everything else, so at some point they're going to have to take that seriously. But it's a very bitter pill indeed for them to swallow, and it remains to be seen whether the more hardline factions of the regime are ever willing to do that, or they just want to fight to the death and go down.